Hello, thank you for joining us for another interview on FactFo TV. My name is Laura D. Pusey and I am the founder of FactFo. Today it is my pleasure to introduce to you Detola Amure. And let's find out more about what Detola does. So, hi Detola, thank you for joining us today.
Hi,
Can you
Laura.
introduce yourself and let us know what it is that you do?
Hi, Laura. Thank you for having me today.
You're
So like
welcome.
you already said, my name is Detola Amure, so that it's called Amure. Like,
Amore,
like,
okay.
yeah, sounds French, but it's
Lovely.
not. It's Nigerian.
Okay,
Yes. So I live in the UK in Kent with my family,
right.
and I used to work as a business analyst for many years, and
Oh,
then I transitioned into becoming a productivity and leadership coach, where I basically activate women. Into purpose, into a life of significance, helping them, find purpose, birth their big dreams. So many people that I've worked with would say I'm an activator. I
right.
activate them into, that life of significance. But in recent years, I have also qualified as a grief recovery specialist, where I basically show people the right action steps to take after they've gone through a huge or significant loss, such as the death of a loved one, a divorce, or anything that constitutes as an emotional loss. And so I've kind of like added that on to what I do as a coach because it actually makes the work I do more holistic now rather than looking at one side. It makes it more holistic. Yeah, so that's what I do in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Wow. There is so much more that I want to ask you in connection with that, but I'll go through my list of questions and then come back. So how did you come into this service?
Oh, it's interesting that you asked this question because if someone had told me 4 years ago that I
Mm,
would be doing anything around grief, I would probably just laugh
okay.
because the word grief didn't even exist in my dictionary. I thought I had a fairly good life. I mean, obviously, I know about death and people dying, but
Yeah.
I hadn't experienced personal loss in that way until in 2018, 2 days before Christmas, my 7-month-old baby boy, who's a twin, died in his sleep. He didn't, he died. We called the ambulance. They tried to resuscitate him, but eventually he was pronounced dead. And that, for me, was the beginning of, I don't even know the words. I don't have the words to describe how I felt when I was told that my baby was no longer here, was dead. It just didn't make sense to me. And
Yeah.
so that drove me on a downward spiral. I was really I was in a dark place because I mean, if you think about it, no parent ever would imagine losing their child, no matter
Yeah.
what age that child is. Even a child who, you've just been told you're pregnant, and the next thing they tell you there's no heartbeat. It
Yeah.
is heart wrenching. There are no words to describe. And so for me, that was what led me on. And because again, like I said, I've been working as a coach. I
Mm,
I try to imagine myself living this life of constant excruciating pain and I couldn't imagine it. So I started looking for help. And so I tried counseling to at least help myself. I wasn't even thinking about helping others, but I just wanted
yeah.
to get better. I
Yeah.
wanted the pain to go away. Tried counseling. It didn't really work for me. It didn't because I didn't just want to talk about the fact that my baby had died.
Yeah.
I needed something to take the pain away.
Yes.
Now I'm a
Yes.
believer and, I believe in God and I know that God comforted me, but there was still that ache, right? I don't know how to explain it. There was still that pain that I was carrying around, this huge weight. And so anyway, to cut a long story short, I was searching online. I think I must have typed in the word grieve and recovery or grief recovery. How do I recover from my and then the grief recovery came up and I'm like, this sounds interesting. And so
Mm,
I went on to do the program and oh my God, that was the first thing that made a huge difference in
okay.
terms of me feeling better. This huge weight that I had on me
Yeah.
suddenly disappeared. And so the good thing about what the grief recovery program did for me was it helped me with my own um, dealing or recovering from my loss. Not that
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss my son, that's a whole separate thing, but more
Yeah.
like letting go of the pain.
Yeah.
and also gave me the qualification to begin to help other people. So that's how I came about this service. And that's kind of like the short summary of how I came into this work. Yeah.
Hey, I am both saddened to hear about your story and heartwarmed to hear about your story. You
Mm,
know,
mm.
it's amazing, isn't it, how grief ties into life
Yes.
and everything that we do. It touches everything, every aspect of
It
it.
does. It
Yeah.
does.
So you've said that you work with women, empowering them,
Yeah.
helping them to find their purpose. How do you find that your grief work is received by others?
Ooh, very well, actually. Very, very
Okay.
well. And I mean, because think about it. Society in general, we don't like talking about death or grief, even though, like I can't remember who said it. The two surest thing in life is death and taxes.
Yes. Yes.
No one prepares us for loss. No one prepares us for death. Everyone is hushing around the subject. So, what I've found in my case is that because um, some people, or a number of people, in my experience, from the conversations I've had, they feel like once they've gone through a loss or a death,
Yeah.
that they are subject to that pain for the rest of their life. Like, this
Yes.
is my life now. I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. So it's almost like that's what society tells you. You can never recover. So
Yes.
people are like, okay, I can't recover. So let me just manage this pain. Or in my interaction with people, my clients, the people I've worked with, they've seen the difference. They're like, oh my goodness, I can still remember my loved one, but without the pain, without this excruciating pain. Because, like you said, it affects our lives, not
Yeah.
just our lives, it affects so grief affects you mentally, physically, in
Yeah.
every area. So people, are having ulcers, are having headaches, are having neck pain, all of these things. And then they're constantly saying that they're no longer, you know, experiencing these symptoms or these illnesses that they had because it was linked with their grief, but they never linked it with their grief.
Yeah.
So it's been well received. And I think one thing I love about the work I do now, like I said, it's made my coaching more holistic.
Yes.
What I've noticed is when people come to me, when women come to me, um, and they say, oh, I'm trying, this is what I believe I've been called to do, but I feel like there's a block. With my grief recovery work now, I almost always see the block. It's always an emotional block.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And so now it's almost like, ooh, let's deal with that. Let's deal
Yes.
with the grief that you're carrying. Because when I start asking more questions, I found that maybe they had a miscarriage a few years ago, or a divorce, or a huge loss they never dealt with.
Yes.
Society has not given us the tools. Another thing people have said is time heals all wounds, but time doesn't do that. Time does nothing. It is the
Yeah.
right action steps that you take that will help you heal from your loss. So it's been well received. The people I've worked with, it's always humbling for me and them to see when we start the sessions
Yeah.
how they came. Everything
Yeah.
all crumbled, and by the end, because it's like an 8 week program, by the end of the 8 weeks, they're almost, you can see smiles, and even they're like, oh my gosh, I feel better. Some of them have said, I feel this huge weight lifted off my shoulders. So it's been well received. I
Beautiful.
needed to get more out there, but at least with the few people I've interacted with, it's
Yeah.
so yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, you're in the right place with FACFO. The intention is to be there to service members of our community, the African and Caribbean
Yes,
community in the UK,
yes,
because this is where there is a great need.
yes,
We are lacking of those who look like us, and are aware of our cultures and traditions.
yes.
So I suppose I've just answered the question, but I was going to ask, how have you found, have you found that there's a more of a cultural need in your work? I know that you said that you had counselling, that you tried that, and that it wasn't that effective for you.
No, yeah.
Would you say that there was a cultural blockage there?
Hmm. That's a very interesting question. So on one hand, I feel like, yes, there's a cultural need for the kind of work I do,
Mm,
definitely, because,
mm.
like you rightly said, Africans, Caribbeans, we have a set of cultures where we've been taught to be strong, where, you don't cry in public, you put up a brave face.
Yeah.
But interestingly, because now I've worked with Africans and, Caucasians and people from other ethnic groups, I found that it's actually common across board.
It's universal.
It's universal. So all these cultures to have their own myths around grief, oh, don't feel bad or be strong, don't cry. It's actually common. It might show up in different forms,
Yeah.
but it's actually common across culture. So yes, I truly believe across board, there is definitely a need. There's a need for this. And that's because from childhood, if you think about it again, from childhood,
Mm.
many of us we've not been taught
Yes.
how to deal with a loss. We've been taught how to acquire stuff, right? Oh, go for it,
Yes.
go get it. But when you lose something, not someone. I mean, I now extrapolate that to losing a person. No one tells you what to do. They just, oh, sort it out yourself. But here,
Yeah.
and that's why many. I feel like across cultures, across ethnic groups, it is very needed. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, sort of following on from what you've said, um, about identifying the emotional blockage when helping your clients to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we don't realize that it's something, an unresolved grief
From
that is stopping us from moving forward. Sometimes an illness can occur and we just trot off to the doctors,
yeah,
get medication, when
yeah,
actually it was
grief.
a grief
Yes,
that could have been spoken about,
yeah.
could have been dealt with
Acknowledge. Yes.
at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't always know that, and so that grief, that energy
Yeah,
stays within the body
that's
and
it.
it works. I think this is my favorite subject. I'm passionate about dying and death, but for me grief really touches my heart.
Mm.
I think when you've experienced it, you
Okay.
know it.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So how have your experiences helped you to navigate your everyday life?
Ooh. So firstly, I think experiencing the death of my baby boy, Moraki Okile, that's his name, made me, I think, has I want to believe, has made me more compassionate and empathetic towards others.
Yeah.
Because until you go through something as devastating as that, everything is theoretical.
Yeah.
It's intellectual.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
easy for you to blot out advice and say, oh, aren't you feeling better now? Come on, put on your big girl pants and,
Yeah.
yeah. Why are you still crying? Why are you still sad? Um, and you hear all these things, you hear things like, oh, um, your son is in a better place, or God wouldn't give you more than you can bear. All of these things that we hear, which are intellectually they sound like yeah, but emotionally they're useless.
Yeah.
So I believe that my experience has made me more compassionate, made me to be a better listener, because one of the things grievers want to do is talk. They
Yeah.
might go on and on, but they want to be heard.
Yes.
So that has made me more compassionate. The other thing is, I think that for everyday life, I feel like it's increased my pain threshold. that's,
Right. That's
that sounds a
interesting.
bit weird, but I think it
Yeah.
has, because now I almost feel like if I can go through the loss of a child, which nearly killed me, I think I can go through anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it's made me more. I don't want to necessarily use the word stronger, but I think it's just made it's expanded my capacity to take on pain. That
Okay.
makes sense.
More resilient,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I was going to ask um whether you see it this way. I am fortunate. I consider it my privilege to be in a position
Mm,
where I can look at my experiences, the deaths that I have experienced,
mm,
as gifts.
mm,
I can see the value in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate that for other people, that would take some time. They would maybe even never get there.
Yeah.
Are you, where would you say that you are in that statement? Are you able
Uh,
to see it as a gift?
so yes. I mean, I still, obviously, I wish my son never died,
Yes.
right? I wish that never happened. But
Yeah.
I am here now. He's died. He's not here. And so I am grateful for the journey I'm on now because his death changed the trajectory of my life.
Yes.
His death introduced me to another layer of who I am, introduced me to another layer of my assignments on this earth.
Yes. Yes.
It's taken me a while. So even when I started this work, it still took me a while to accept that it was a gift at the end of the day. Because left to me, I'm like, if someone could give me my son back right now, I'll drop. I mean, almost like
Yes.
I'll take him back. So
Yeah.
it made my life more enriched. I've met people that I mean, this work I'm doing right now, I probably won't be doing it if not because he died. So in some ways, I almost see like I'm carrying on his legacy
Yes. Yeah.
as part of what I do, where for what I have gone through, and because I've almost come through on the other side where I'm no longer in pain,
Yeah.
I can talk about my baby boy without breaking down,
Yeah.
and I can help others. I think that's such a humbling and beautiful thing to be able to take my pain and not let it go to waste
Yeah.
and see the purpose in the pain. So yes, I think I can definitely see it from that angle of appreciation.
That is so beautiful. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for your experiences and just thank you for being available for those who may experience this.
Mm.
Inevitably, everybody will experience
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So
No,
we need to get ready.
we
We need to get
do.
prepared.
And I personally believe that there is going to be a mass exodus
Mm.
and that certain people are being put in place.
Yeah,
And that often the trigger for us moving towards our calling
yeah,
is the death of a loved one.
true.
Yeah.
So true.
What advice would you give for anybody experiencing grief?
I think firstly, even though I don't know you personally, I am truly, truly sorry for your loss. It's nothing no one can tell you how to feel. No one can tell you how not to feel. And I think I want to start from there that you may be going through so much pain right now. Allow yourself to feel the pain. That's another thing many of us do. We try to suppress the pain. It is part of life. As hard as it is, acknowledge how you feel. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling sad, label those emotions. Acknowledge them. Because what we resist will persist. So if you don't acknowledge them, it would persist. But by acknowledging your emotions, it's almost like another step towards your healing. And even in you acknowledging your emotions and your pain, don't let anyone box you into a corner and say, this is how you must grieve, and this is how you should grieve, and this is how long you should grieve for. Because, first of all, your loss is unique to you because of the relationship that you had with the person you've lost. So that means your grief will be unique. So grieve as you know. There is no right or wrong way to grieve because I think that's another complexity that stops people from grieving properly because
Yes.
society telling you this is how you should grieve. But no, don't let stay. In fact, if you need to cut those people off, please do for your own well-being.
Necessary.
Stay close to those who will not judge you, analyze you, criticize you, people who you know are in your corner. Don't isolate yourself. It's so easy to isolate ourselves when we're grieving, thinking nobody understands. There are still a few good people out there who get it. They might not have gone through what you've gone through, but they will be there to listen. When I went through my loss, some friends, disappeared, maybe
Yeah.
because they didn't know how to handle this
Yeah.
pain I was in.
Yeah.
But guess what? God brought new people into my life. And that was just, it was so amazing for me.
Bless.
So I would definitely say acknowledge your pain, don't stay isolated. But more importantly, please, 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 if you find that you are no longer functioning or you're just in a very bad place, get professional help, talk to someone. I mean, think about it. If you broke your foot or your arm, you would go see a doctor. If your heart is broken, please see a professional. Feel free to connect with me or Laura or someone who knows what they're doing. They've been trained in this field to help. Please don't try and do it by yourself. Get help. Yeah, that would be
That is beautiful. I think I love you.
my.
Amazing.
Oh, thank
Fantastic.
you.
You are beautiful. Please tell our viewers, how do they get in touch with you? How can we find you?
Okay, so I can be found on social media, Detola Amure. Type in my name. I think I'm the only one out there. Very that. Feeling special now. But yeah, if you type in Detola Amure, you'll find me, or my website, detolaamure.com,
Okay.
where you could even, if you wanted to, find out more about the grief recovery method, or just talk to someone, find out how the method can help you. There's a link on there under grief. So on my website, I think that I have a tab called grief. If you go on there, you can book a free 30 minutes call with me to see how I can support you or how the grief recovery method can help. So yeah, I'm on social media and my website as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Brilliant. And you're also in the FACFO directory as well.
Oh yeah, of course. I forgot that. I forgot that important bit.
It's okay, don't worry. But yeah, it's great to know that we can find you and that more can find you, regardless of their background.
Yeah.
You know, as we've said, grief is universal, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
It is unique because we all feel it differently, you know. And yes, if our heart is broken, then we need to seek an expert. And Detola, thank you so much for being there. Perfect. Well, I'm going to draw an end to this interview now, but thank you so much. Would we be able to speak again in the future, perhaps?
Definitely, definitely. I'm always up for this uncomfortable conversations because I feel like the more we talk about it,
Yeah,
the more awareness we're creating,
yeah.
for the griever and for those who are supporting grievers. So definitely.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.